The word transfigured is metamorphed, which you probably recognize as what happens to a caterpillar when it goes into a cocoon and it comes out a butterfly. It's a major morph, change. It's a change on a whole new scale. And Jesus is miraculously transformed before them in glory. Of the three, Peter, James, and John, only one of them will ever live to see Jesus. Only one of them will ever live during their natural lifetime in this world to see Jesus in that resurrected glory again. Can you guess which one it is? John, in Revelation chapter 1. He's the only one that gets to see Jesus glowing again. And it will affect him in Revelation 1 just as dramatically as it affects him here. You know what the response of the three apostles is when they see Jesus in his glory? At one point, they're all going to fall on their faces, and Jesus is going to raise them up. And in Revelation chapter 1, when he sees Jesus, he falls like a dead man, and Jesus raises him up. But keep in mind, as we look at this picture of Jesus Christ in his glory, that we're getting a preview not only of him in his glory, but he says that when he returns, we shall be like him. And so this is a preview of what's in store for us in the resurrection as well. Look at verse number 3. And his raiment became shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. Luke 9:29 adds that the fashion of his countenance was altered, not just his raiment, but his that very countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistering. And that word glistering means it sparkled. And Matthew 17:2 adds that his face also did shine as the sun. And Revelation 1:14 says that his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. It says in verse number 7, and there was a cloud that overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, this is my beloved Son, hear him. In Matthew 17:5, he says, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased, hear ye him. This whole scene is a cameo of the kingdom. You've got Jesus in his glorified body, like he's going to be for 1,000 years in the millennial kingdom. You've got Moses talking with them, who represents saints who have died and are going to be resurrected. You've got Elijah talking with them, which represents saints that will go to heaven without dying, the raptured saints. And you've got on the mountaintop Peter, James, and John, mortals who are beholding all of this. And in the millennial kingdom, you've got Jesus in his glory, you've got the resurrected and the raptured saints, and you've got the survivors of the tribulation who enter into the millennial kingdom, and their offspring who repopulate the world, and the saved survivors. And so you've got here representatives of all of the elements that will be there in the millennial kingdom. And so he's giving them a preview of this. Look at verse number 8. And suddenly, when they had looked round about, they saw no man anymore, save Jesus only with themselves. Matthew 17:6 says, when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid, just like John would be in Revelation 1:17. When I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And then Matthew 17:7 says, Jesus came and touched them and said, arise and be not afraid. And in Revelation 1:17, Jesus laid his right hand upon me, saying, fear not, I am the first and the last.